Steve, what gave you the idea to look at failures rather than the successes of very successful people?
Well, of course, it all starts with me. And the fact is, as a writer, I was thinking, what do I know best? Because as a writer, you're supposed to write what you know. So I was very intimate with failure. My whole life is just, I failed at marriage, I failed at school, I flunked out of 4 different colleges. I flunked out of a college night school, which is impossible, they told me, but I was able to do it. And so I started talking to other people and finding out that everybody had a point in their life that they had considered a failure or a mistake or adversity, and that as time went on, that became very important to them as something they gained from. And when I looked at very successful people, I found out their failures were even greater, and that it wasn't until later that they realized again that it was the failure that made them the better person. So in fact, that failure was not a negative, it was really a positive. And I think it goes for kids, it goes for adults, it goes for people no matter what age. There is something in their life that as it happens and seems that it's negative, that they can turn around and make it into a success.
Better than the word failure, then, you might be thinking of the word setback, which, like a slingshot, you pull it back, it feels like a backward motion, but then you're propelled forward.
If you let it. The only thing that the only time it's really a failure is if you stop, if it stops you. Perseverance is the important thing. These are all rungs on the ladder that you have to keep moving and moving and moving. And if you don't move and you stop, then you failed. But if you keep moving, these are all steps that are towards success, towards happiness, towards whatever goal you end up at. It may not be the goal that you originally started off at, looking for, but the fact is it'll end up in a place that you'll be better for.
What story surprised you the most? Which one affected you the most?
Well, first of all, every story was a wonderful story. And I'm so happy and thrilled that the people were successful people willing to share this. But the story of Jamie Goldman, who at 19 years old, a woman who really had no particular thing that she was chasing down, she wasn't in the greatest shape of her life, etc. She ended up coming home from a skiing trip, taking the wrong turn on the road, and ended up 10 days buried in the snow in her car, no food, no water, a friend with her. At the end of it, when they finally found her, and she was basically near death at the time, she lost both legs. When she lost both legs, to her, it was tragic, as you might think it would be. But because of her losing the legs, she had to fight so hard to improve her health and the rest of her body so that she can live, so she could have the strength to lift that body without the legs. And what happened to her is it gave her a drive that moved her so much past that she became a Paralympic runner. And she set a record in Paralympic running. And she ended up becoming the Adidas girl for her ability to run, and she was featured in many of her commercials, perhaps one of the most famous Adidas commercials of all time. And today she is a motivational speaker. She is in a place when I asked her, would she want her legs back? She said, no, I am the person that I am right now, and that's who I want to be. I don't want to be that person I used to be.
Of course, that's a very heroic story, a very big kind of success from failure, which is why I was surprised that you called me. I mean, my failure was of the ordinary variety: divorce, losing a job, a custody hearing for children. That's something that happens to everybody.
Well, that's the point of the story, that everybody could relate to it. The fact is, when a person gets divorced, when a person goes through something with a job, they don't think it's that big a deal. But to them it is. To admit it to somebody else, to share it with somebody else, that would feel kind of foolish. To have someone as successful as you be willing to share this story with women and men who have gone through this and who think it's not such a big deal, and yet they feel so bad about it, opens them up, makes them willing to share, makes them willing to say, you know, I can do that too. I, like Judy Muller, can become a success. I can get past that adversity. By you being willing to share your story, you give so many more people that willingness to share their story and to say, I can do it too.
Do you expect readers to empathize with these failures?
Well, I think so. If you take example the story of Jim Marshall. Jim Marshall was an all-pro football player in the 1960s for the Minnesota Vikings. There was one game where he picked up a fumble and ran the wrong way and scored for the other team. At halftime, that made the other team the leading team. Well, think of humiliation on a national, everyday basis. ESPN runs this over and over and over, and that humiliation that he had that day was unbelievable. He sat in that locker room, and he did not want to go out for the second half. But he remembered what his father had said to him, which was face the music. And even though he didn't want to, he gritted his teeth, and he went out on the field. And he ended up playing the best second half of his career. He caused 3 fumbles, including the one that Alan Page picked up and scored the winning touchdown with. The fact is, while he was humiliated, did not want to talk about it, again, he gritted his teeth. And after the game, he faced the press, and he told them how he felt, and he told them what he tried to do. Well, while he still felt humiliated by that and didn't want to go and talk about it after that, he continued to talk about it. Thousands of people came out of the woodwork and sent him letters of thank you to say, I had an embarrassing moment. I was humiliated once. I realized that now I can talk about it.
Huh. So in a way, that story could serve as a metaphor for everyone's failures.
Right. Failure is only when you sink to the bottom and stay there. It's not when you bounce to the top. General George Patton said, I don't gauge a person on how high he climbs. I gauge him on how high he bounces after he hits bottom.
One of the things I liked about this book was your collection of quotes and anecdotes about failure and success. What was your favorite?
One of my favorites, and it's an unknown person who said this, was, don't cry for the sun going down. The tears may block your view of the stars.
That's beautiful. It's a lot like my favorite, which is, the barn has burned down, now I can see the moon.
Success is in the trying, only in the trying. It has nothing to do with the result. The result will take care of itself. So many people think it's only what I get to that is supposed to be whether I'm good or not, whether I succeeded or not. Success is the journey. And if you can enjoy that journey up until the success, you'll have a lifetime of happiness. The point is that failure is only when you stop. Success is if you keep moving.